Hey there, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. Aaron Judge last night proved that the hands matter in a 500-foot home run. And man, this discussion makes people nervous, and it because of all the new teaching out. That's Josh Donaldson interview where he says, "I don't feel my hands." And then in 1975, guys are being told to slap balls on the ground with their hands and so forth. In my experience, right, I had a very rough time initially when I was teaching kids using video because I was trying to use the same methods that the guys that were using video were talking about, and I had some great results. But one of the things that I've struggled with players is this phase of the swing. No matter what, obviously, a better understanding of how the body's turn works and the connected forces that work together definitely help make improvements in players. I saw dramatic improvements that were different than an old method that I might have used, right? But what I kept struggling with was this phase of the swing because I was telling players that the body's turn was what was going to dictate, not their hands or anything like that. I realized I was missing something all along. I started focusing a lot on the top hand arm and what was happening with young players and what was happening with players at this level as they drop into their weight shift. All these guys, almost all, let me see back here, his back elbow is still back, right? Still back behind his hands, right? So that he can get to the inside really well. Right, so you cannot hit this position, and this is what I ultimately came up with. And first off, let me say this, is that, Jake Epstein termed this position as the $1 million position. That basically the hands being in front of the armpit in this turn, he said it was extremely important. And I support that completely because this is exactly the things that I was seeing with young players is that their body was turning and the hands were chasing, right? The barrel cannot chase the turn. And so this is a great example right here. Now, again, this was a 500-foot home run. And if you notice his chest in relationship to the knob of the bat in his hands, you could almost say that his hands are already in the middle of his chest here, right? And it's almost impossible, especially with the reinforced idea of the hands don't matter movement that's happening, especially when you're teaching young players, it's impossible for them to hit this position, right? If they don't understand how to use their hands in the unload portion of the swing. It's so important that they get out of this zone clean, right? In order to get to that spot. Notice the difference or the space between the elbows here, right? Kids don't get here not because they're trying to use their hands, it's because they don't understand how to unload their hands correctly. So I had and I appreciated the comment, but somebody commented the other day about how the difference between a linear and a rotational swing is the linear kids will have their elbows closer together, rotational guys will have their elbows apart. And I think that you'll see elbows apart in a well-defined swing, in a swing that's good mechanically. But I don't think that really is a defining characteristic of linear and rotational. I think what that is a result. Linear is a player that doesn't understand how to, or the elbows coming together is a player that does not understand how to get out of this phase correctly. And in my experience, I do about 1,000 hours of private lessons a year here in Hazlet, Texas, and I do online academy stuff. What fixes this a player's sequence problem is when you throw out the idea that the body is going to drag the barrel around. And so what you'll find out when you start talking to players about their hands in this phase of the swing, right? You won't see them hitting balls on the ground at second base. What you'll see is, and I hope this is very clear today, that if I can get the knob of the bat, right? If I can get the knob of the bat to get into a position where now my barrel is going to be behind my I'm sorry, that my body is going to be behind the barrel, then the rotation of my body is going to help. If the knob of the bat is chasing the rotation of my body, which is exactly what a lot of guys are teaching these days, right? That the hands don't matter, that the hands are an extension of the body. Just turn those shoulders, man, and you're gonna clobber the ball. You cannot hit that position right there by turning your shoulders, and the hands are just following that turn.